Hey you, it's Rachel O'Mara. I'm host of the Pausecast, and I'm so glad that you are here. We are discussing tips and proven strategies in the world of emotional intelligence so that you can rise to your next level of leadership without the overwhelm. I'm also the author of the book Pause, Harnessing the Life-Changing Power of Giving Yourself a Break, based on my burnout of Google and all the things that I've learned since that are really in this realm of neuroscience, psychology, and emotional intelligence. If you're interested to download my free guidebook for how to get out of overwhelm, I invite you to do that at rachelomara.com/guidebook. Just so excited. Let's just start and dive in. I'm excited today to have Ishwar Joshi joining us on the podcast. Hi, Ishwar. How are you today?
I'm good. Hi, Rachel. How are you? Thanks.
Will you share with us, Ishwar, a little bit about your background? What led you to your current role in tech?
So I'm a Eng manager at Google, and I've been at Google for about 10 years now. And before that, I worked at Microsoft. I've done a few startups. I grew up in India. So how I started in all of this was when I was in high school, computers was a very new thing, and it wasn't even a career choice. It was more like just a cool thing that you mess around with. And, like in your summer break, you just go learn these things. And my parents, they just put me, oh, there's this new thing called, a PC. I just like fell in love with it, right? And it wasn't a career and all of that. I was like, I just love doing this. And it was also something that I think I was good at. I remember after I finished the course, the teacher, they mentioned to my parents, he's really good at this. I just continued on. I used to just hang out at the same place where I studied, and I started helping out other students. And after some time, I realized that, hey, people will pay money for this, right? It's not just I want to have fun. So it became a career. And I came to America uh, when I was 25. And then I was at Budweiser as a contractor when I was on my visa. And then I went to Microsoft. That was like my childhood dream to go work at Microsoft. Worked there for about 6-7 years in Xbox and various other teams, and then moved to the Bay Area. Yeah, did a startup, and then been at Google off late.
You also are an author. Can you
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about some of the work you've published?
Yes. So I have been writing Hindu spiritual books as my weekend hobby. And this started in the pandemic. I've always wanted to write a book for a long time. And I always obviously thought it would be about computers because was my passion. I used to always put it off. Initially, I was like, oh, I'm not experienced enough or wise enough to write a book. Then eventually it was like kids and this and that. I'll do it at some point. And then when the pandemic started, essentially what happened is my wife, she got into a recitation group. So every week, they would be in a group and they would say, everybody at your own home, you like read one chapter from Sai Charitra, which is Sai Baba is a Hindu saint. So this is like the miracles and teachings of Sai Baba. So she would read that. Then she said I should get into it. I started reading it. And then we thought our girls, I have 2 girls, they should also start reading it. But what I realized is, although there is an English translation, the original was in Marathi, which is my native tongue, but there is an English translation, but that is still very archaic. It was done 100 years ago. So the English doesn't flow, right? Even if when I read it, I can't read it easily. I got to be like, wait, what is it? So I started by explaining to my girls in a simplified fashion. This is what this week's chapter meant. So I started like writing it down in a Google Doc and then as the pandemic went on, I was like, we just keep going on. There's nothing else to do, right? So after about 8 or 10 chapters, I was like, oh, maybe I should try this. Maybe I should try this whole book, right? And then I went on and I completed the book. And I was pleasantly surprised that, when it launched, it was very, very well received, not just by kids, but even adults and everybody. So it went on to become like a #1 new release on Amazon and then eventually become Amazon bestsellers. So that was the positive reinforcement I needed. So then next year I wrote another book and now it's become like an annual tradition. So I just recently published my 7th book. So I've been doing it for the last 6 years.
And was the late? So I was researching you on LinkedIn. So the latest one, was it the Ganesha Purana one?
So it's actually, there's one right after that, which interestingly, I will be posting on LinkedIn today. It's the Ganesh Gita. Ganesh Gita is, and everybody knows about the Bhagavad Gita, which is a very popular Hinduism text. Ganesh Gita is like a hidden gem. I thought I know the Gita, and here is a new Gita that I didn't know about. So I was fascinated and I was able to modernize it. So I feel really blessed
Great.
and proud.
And
about
all
doing.
of us know now about the new Gita that let us know about with Ganesha. So thank you. I
Yes.
personally also really identify, I love Ganesh as well as one of the Hindu gods and identify just resonating with him more. So thank you for all of that work. Can you share what a typical day is like for you and what you're especially proud of? Like what's working really well?
So typical day is mostly meetings. I like to have like a 30-minute one-on-one with all my reports every week, right? So every week this is their time. And essentially I see the one-on-one more as a time for me to bond and connect with them, right? So this is not about a status report. This is not about what did you do last week, because I already know that, right? I can see all the code they checked in. I can see all the docs. I'm in all the chat rooms, right? And I know, right? Even if I don't meet them for 3 weeks, I kind of have my pulse on all the project work and how things are going, right? So sure, we can spend 5 minutes talking about how was your week, but really this is for them to share their apprehensions or their concerns or things in a one-on-one setting that they don't do in a team setting. This is about how are they feeling, because my job is to make sure that they are feeling inspired, excited, and comfortable in the work, right? I see my role as more qualitative. If we hire the right people for the job and I put them on the right project based on their career trajectory and what's a good fit and what the project needs, and then I pair them up with the challenges, then I can get out of the way, right? I don't like to be like, are you doing this, you should do it this way. I'm like, you're the person for this, right? Go for it, right? I'm here as your coach. I can go down to like helping you fix a bug or talk about the AI industry, where it's going, any level, but I really want them to drive each of their tasks. I really just spend most of my time meeting one to one with my reports in the week. And then, of course, the team meetings and the scrum meetings and all that. And then with my stakeholders and all of that. The usual stuff is fine, emails, reviewing docs, and all of that. That's really, I see more of my job as just building connections and making sure people are all well bonded. And of course, thinking about risks and all of those. But what I also do is I make sure I find time and prioritize my family. So I will make sure that like my drop off my kids in the morning, because that is my one-on-one with my kids. I have a 13 and a 16-year-old. And that 15 minutes in the car, obviously no screen time
Yeah.
allowed, is that conversation, whatever it is, right? I think that helps me bond. So I see that as my time with them. And then evening time with the family. So I make sure I do those. I also make time to do meditation. I do transcendental meditation, and that has really helped me, not just as a spiritual thing, but I see meditation. I mean, if you think about it, yoga originally was a spiritual Hindu practice, right?
Yeah.
Like the Bhagavad Gita talks about yoga, bhakti yoga, karma yoga, and all of that, right? So it is, but in modern life, we have realized that you can separate out the religious part of it and keep the health and wellness part and still benefit. And meditation is the same way. It started as at least the Hindu practice that I know of, and transcendental meditation
Yeah.
started there. But it has immense benefits, right? So I see meditation and transcendental meditation as workout for your mind. Just like you want to do some exercise, you could go to the gym or you could just walk or just get your 10,000 steps in. Meditation, I see the same way, right? The quality of life really improves. I've experienced that.
What about on the other side of that, challenges? What is there a mistake or a challenge you've learned the most from?
I've had decisions that I regretted. I've had, basically professional decisions, right? Oh, I should have taken that job. I shouldn't have taken this. I should have done this differently. But it's fine, because I think in the grand scheme of things, it works out, right? uh, as consciously or subconsciously. Subconsciously, your mind is like, okay, I should do something else. And of course, there are projects. So I want to talk about two things very quickly. There was a project where I was the eng manager, and I inherited it, and it wasn't going well. It was delayed and all of that, and morale was pretty low of everybody, the engineers and the stakeholders, and escalations and all that. And one quality that I have is one of the things that a quality I have is I have perseverance, right? And I learned that, if I may throw that in, is so I ran a marathon, a full marathon long ago, 10, 15 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And the one thing you learn from that is perseverance, right? Like that's the only way you're going to be able to finish it, 26.2 miles. No, ignore the pain, ignore everything, ignore the rain, pain, whatever. Just you got to keep going until the finish line, right?
Right.
That helped me a lot of times. And for example, in that project, I'm not going to give up until this project succeeds, no matter what, right? I even had an option that, do you want to get off this project work? I was like, no, 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 it's okay. So I stayed on that project for like 2.5, 3 years until it succeeded. And the first 70% of that was just like pain and stress and just basically kind of going and apologizing to management and stakeholders that, sorry, we're still late and we have new challenges and we have hidden challenges. Eventually, I was able to turn it around by assembling a great team, right? I recruited some people and then, you work on it literally bit by bit, fix the morale, fix the tech debt, fix this, fix that, all of that, right? And then the project succeeded. Then we were able to like actually reorg it into a bigger team where it should be. And then it went on to win like an award, right? Like a division wide award, which is, Eng Excellence Award, which is a pretty big deal, which is pretty cool. So that's something which I learned a lot from, and I think I became a much better Eng manager from that. Now, here is the thing, not for that project, but generally, whenever I look back and I'm like, I should have done that better. What I should have done, not in that project, but in other places, is I should have pivoted faster. And maybe even in that project, I should have done things faster. So that's one thing which I try something, and especially if it's not working, it's an uphill hard battle. I somehow get attracted to that. I'm like, okay, I got to fight this battle. I got to really nail this, right? And I think I stay at it for too long before saying, is this the right path? Is this really worth it? Right. And I think, so for me, that's a learning I have is many times I'm like, I should have just given up earlier, which might sound counterintuitive, right? But I think, like they say, too much of anything is not good. So too much of perseverance is also not good.
Learning to pivot sooner and trying to accommodate from there.
And be in a blameless way. Is this the right thing? Like, you're doing a great job, but is this the thing you should be doing a great job on?
What's one piece of advice, Ishwar, to give other high achieving leaders in tech?
I think this is just like my perspective
Guidance.
and my 2 cents. I think one common theme that I have seen, and I think a lot of, if not all, leaders in tech might identify with this, is tech is going through a almost never before transformation, right? Like, it's a young industry. I've been in the industry for like 25 years, and it's always been upward and onward. It's always like amazing, more this, more that, right? And yes, there was the dot-com crash. I experienced that. And then of course there's the 2008, but those are like short, and then those were understandable. They're like, okay, it's a bubble. And then, within 6 months or a year, which happened, the market comes back up and then it's fine, right? I think what has happened now is, first of all, the pandemic, there was a whiplash, right? There was like an orders of magnitude more people suddenly started using tech products. So all the tech companies were excited, and we were all like, we're the only ones having jobs and we can work from home, and everybody, the future is all big tech now, or tech. And then there was a whiplash where it was, no, the world comes back to normalcy, and it's somewhere in between. And no, it's not just work from home. And so basically there was a huge adjustment, right? Both up and down, right? Everybody work from home, everything is tech. And then everybody's like, no, you got to go back to work and everything is not tech. So that whiplash, I think, was unlike anything else, especially for tech. It was very different. I think every industry had it differently, but we had it differently. But then right after that came out ChatGPT, and then it's the whole AI thing. And these two giant things, right, one after each other, I think has completely shifted the landscape, right? So what that means is this, and then of course, the workforce reductions and all of those, and then companies have to find the money to train AI and all of that. So everything is new. There's like almost 3-4 major things happening at the same time. So where I'm getting with all this is career growth and promotions and all of that is very, very different from what it was before the pandemic, right? Before, it was almost like every 2 years, people were used to getting promoted. Like, they would deliver and get promoted. Versus now, you deliver, and it's not, right? Which I realized is how the real world is, right? Like, tech was in a bubble where it was like everybody just upward and onward all the time. That's not how real world is. People are feeling frustrated. I hear this, I've been, managing teams for 6 years now, and I have different configurations every 18 months with reorgs. So I've managed a lot of people, starting from entry level all the way to staff, right? And everybody is feeling, and even peers I talk to, including myself, right? I mean, like, we all feel that I'm putting in so much, but the reward is not there. Plus, there is no opportunity. In the past, it's like, I'm just moving to a different team. Well, guess what? Mostly it's hiring freeze. I'll just move to a different company. Well, guess what? They're also doing layoffs. So it's very hard. Everybody feels that they are in a dead end. And now with AI, the pace has increased. So everybody has to work harder. So it feels like a really rough spot to be in. And I identify with that, right? I mean, I feel I'm not immune to all of them. I feel all of those things. So the way I have been telling all my reports, my peers, and how I've been coping with it is, you know, And if I may tie this back to like the teaching in Bhagavad Gita is, it is, the ups and downs in life and the pleasure and pain, they're like seasons, right? And one thing we know about seasons is they're not permanent. This is the long winter, for tech. By the nature of what it is, it can't last forever, right? So we got to just have patience and then just get through it. We can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, but just by the nature of it, that's the faith I have. By the nature of it, things will shift and then it will get better. It will be different, but it'll definitely be better, is what I feel. And then how do you get through that? For me, again, meditation has helped me. Also, sounds cliche, but just trying new things distracts your mind, right? So, for example, recently I got trained on AI, or I try to find new AI projects, or I'll just tell my boss, give me a different area, give me a different responsibility, right? And that way, at least it's not boring. And then, that'll keep me busy for a year. I'm like, okay, maybe no career growth right now. Give me something new and I'll see you in a year. I'll stay busy with that. I would say that's how I've been approaching, and hopefully that can, help others.
You named it COVID whiplash. I hadn't really heard it like that. And then the industry winter, the frost has settled in, and
Yeah.
here we are. The other thought I had was around making investments in ourselves. What have been some of the best professional investments that you've made in the past couple years?
I love to learn. I mean, tech, you got to have that because it just keeps changing. I mean, AI is a step change, but, so was the iPhone and so was the internet. And, you always get those large. And I actually love those moments. In fact, it kind of gets boring after a while. Like towards the end of that revolutionary era, like cloud, whatever we had before, it was kind of get boring for. I'm like, okay, it's, we know how it works. And, you've architected some of those systems and all of that. So I really love the whole new AI revolution where, the fast pace and every day there's new and competition. So I've always self-learned. Like that's how I got from a small town in India all the way to Google. But this time, what I did differently is I said I should get professional education, not just self-learning, right? Like, of course, I read the books and I was trying to mess around with LLMs. Stanford and deep learning, they have this great course, which is the foundation. Like basically, what are LLMs and what is AI and that was amazing. And then, of course, I went to, I did an online course from Wharton, which is AI for business, right? So AI as a science and as an engineering practice is good, but then how do you apply that to business? So those two were really great. And then again, in the spirit of, okay, I have a lot of energy and time. What can I do with it? So I went and actually got a master's degree from Urbana-Champaign in management. So I'm like, I've been a manager. I think I know how to do the job, but you can always learn something. Doing these professional certifications and all of these from these universities has definitely helped me. It has made me much more confident. Obviously, I learned a lot, but it helps me feel anchored in this revolution of AI, right? This morning, I read something, this happened. And I can trace it down to that course I took about how an LLM works and how I was like, okay, I think I understand what is happening. And for me, that's the biggest thing. I always want to know exactly going down all the way down. How did we get here? Last year, I did take coaching again to improve my management and how I can lead the team. So I took that. Before I became manager, I actually also did like how to be a coach. Like you have to have the mindset and all of that. So actually that's 5 or 6 years ago when I was thinking of becoming a manager.
Nice.
I took, the coach training. I forget what it is called, but yeah, it's a standard thing.
Otherwise, what else is working and feeling a little more challenging right now in your world? What's working lately for you? It could be professional or personal. And what's a little more challenging?
I think on the professional, the pace of career growth and, you know, I'm probably my biggest critic. I always hold myself to really high standards, and I like to do, and I've been like this for a long time where, I end of the year or every some certain time, I like to do a self check and I'm like, where am I at? And I had these goals and how am I doing? And oh my God, I'm so behind. I should do something. I should catch up. So I'm always self-evaluating myself. My self-critic is not very happy with where I'm at right now, but you got to look at glass half empty or half full, right? Like obviously everybody I talk to, and so that's the other side. When I talk to people and they're like, wow, you're doing so many things, you're doing good. I'm like, okay, I think I'm probably doing okay because I have to balance between my self-critic and the external. But I think, like I said, I genuinely believe that I think I'm investing and I'm putting in a lot of effort. And I've had this a few times in my life where I'll go on for a long time with a lot of effort and with no visible gain, right? But at some point I will get a little bit disproportionate gain to what that effort seems like. And then in hindsight, I'm like, wait, I think this is where all that buildup was. Like I worked so hard for some time and I didn't see anything. And then now suddenly I just did a little bit, but I got so much, right? On the personal side, things are going well. I launched my 7th book. I have a pretty good system now. I'm doing 1 book a year and I have a pretty good system of doing all that. I have a blueprint of, I don't know, at least 10 more. I really just love it. And I'm getting good validation. People are liking it too. So I think that's good. But again, in the spirit of being self-critical, I'm like, what's next, right? Like I'll keep doing the next 10 books, but what else can I do with the content? And that's where I'm thinking of, putting it in a multimedia fashion. And I'm thinking like, should this go on YouTube? But then what's the right packaging for it? It has been a good product market fit in a book form, right? It has been well received, but the audience is limited of who wants to read Hindu spiritual books. But who I think could benefit from, how do I take that content and get it there?
Yeah.
Is a hard challenge, I think, especially because the subject is spiritual. So I need to keep its sanctity without trying to like modernize it too much.
That's important to be in the inquiry of it so that you do get to the right answer for yourself.
Yes,
I think
yes,
that
yes.
matters.
And I like how you put that, right? Is you got to continuously be like, okay, what is it? How is it going to work? So.
Yeah, and it's got to work for you as the creator as much as anyone else, if not more, right? Is there any other words of wisdom?
One thing I remember, I don't know who said it, but it really struck with me many, many years ago, where somebody said, after you retire, your customers or your clients won't remember all those late nights that you stayed at work, but your family will. Your kids will remember that was the one time where I was in the park and you weren't there, right, Daddy, right? So that really changed my perspective, right? Because I was a workaholic and you can always get carried away. And I used to be like, I've done the things where, you work 16 hours, 18 hours, just go home, come back, work 16 hours again. But the thing is, you got to have the balance, right? Because life is a journey, right? And it seems like we're just chasing one destination after the other. This project, this promotion, this level, this launch. But once you realize, okay, this is just a station and this is a long train journey, right? So then you got to zoom out and be like, okay, what are and I think, again, I'm realizing this, especially I would say, again, if I may speak about, I'm sure I'm in a bubble, but in a big tech bubble that I'm in, right? Where people used to take the good times will last forever and everything will be forever and job security and all that. I think people are also realizing this. I see that, right? Is that you are more than your job. You are more than the project. You're more than the label, your designation, your company, all of that. So once you disassociate that, then what are the other yous? For me, it's family and my job, but then also my side passion, writing books. And that's a bigger purpose, right? Which helps me connect to a bigger purpose. That like, why am I writing these books? Because they should be written. I don't need them to be #1 bestsellers. Oh, somebody should do this. I'll just do it, right? And so I think once you do that, it helps enrich your life. That your life has multiple parts, and it just enriches you. You can do more, but again, practically speaking, it helps you get through these frustrations if you have those, right? Because you're like, I can just focus on something else today, right? My family or my side project or whatever, or learning.
Yeah. And I'm hearing to follow your passions so that you can feel purposeful, because if it aligns with what matters to you, when you go put your effort in on those, that it can't be anything but meaningful and add to your depth of how you can succeed. So
Exactly.
That's a really strong
And
point.
you bring that meaning, right? Like everybody has something unique that they can contribute in their area of passion, right? And if they contribute, that has brought meaning to that area, to that subject, or to that space.
Thank you so much for sharing your words of wisdom. Where can people find you?
Website is probably the best way to get, look me up and get in touch with me. So it's www.ishwar.guru. So that's ishwar.guru.
Put it in the show notes so we have it as a link.
And then I'm on LinkedIn, and connect with me on LinkedIn.
Yeah, and they can find your book. Where can they find your book? On your website?
On ishwar.guru, yeah. And I mean, you can go on Amazon, but ishwar.guru is the best. And from there, it links to Amazon. I would love to, as a token of appreciation for having me here, I can give a free copy of one of my ebooks to whoever is interested. You can reach out and just connect with me on LinkedIn and then just send me a message. And then I'm happy to share
Yeah.
a link with you to get the ebook.
Got it. So Ishwar Joshi, Joshi, is your last name. And people can connect with you there. They can go to your website, ishwar.guru, and get a copy of your book. Thank you for offering that to our listeners. An ebook would be wonderful. I so appreciate you being here today. Thank you.
Thanks for listening today to the Pausecast. You rock. If you haven't already, please subscribe, rate us, leave your review. I'd love to hear from you and help us get the word out to all of those who are in search of wanting to get out of overwhelm and rise to their next level of leadership. If you think that you might benefit from these tools or know anyone else who would, just invite them to join us. Pausecast.